أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربي زدني علما نافعا. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to our sixth session of Tajweed, and as we left off from the previous session, we did group 5. Okay, those three letters were Sin, Za, and we did one of the toughest letters, Swad. Okay, I hope you are practicing Swad at home. And in this session, we are going to look at another tough letter that is, personally, I believe, one of the most toughest, the toughest letter in the Arabic language. That's personally, I find it. And a lot of people also, I've seen, they also have issues with that. But we're going to go at the end of our session and we're going to look at that specific letter, and that is Dad, which is written the same way as Sad, but it has a dot on it. And a lot of the times in our prayers as well, we find this letter coming in when we say غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. And a lot of people, they go and they pronounce it وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, they make it with a Z sounding articulation, but that is incorrect, because you are then putting the letter Z into this word, and that changes the entire meaning of this word that is appearing in the Holy Quran. And then in terms, you're changing the meaning of the Holy Quran. So that's why we are focusing on the Arabic articulation, the specific articulation, the specific pronunciation, the specific makhraj, or which is singular, and makharij, which is plural, that how the Arabs pronounce these letters, because according to that, then only we will know that we are reciting what we are reciting is correct and according to the meaning of the Holy Quran. Right, brothers and sisters, let's go to group number 6, okay? Group 6, right? Now, group 6, we are having 3 letters here, okay? The third letter comes into group 6. A lot of the experts on Tajweed, they also include it in this group as well. So we will also include it. And the first letter we're going to look at is Jim, right? Jim, okay? Now, just like how you say the letter J in English, and also the J sounding G sometimes, of course, we said in English it has a G sound or it has a G sound, okay? Now we're going to look at Jim, and we're going to call it specifically the letter J equivalent in English, because J always has a J sound coming to it. Now, when you already know how to pronounce this letter, brothers and sisters, it's no issue, no hard and fast rules. But what we want to know is where this is coming out from, where the point of articulation is, where the makhraj of this is in our mouth. Now, as we said, we started from group 1 and we moved on to group 5. So we started from the front of the mouth, we started from the lips, we moved to the front of the teeth, we moved to the back of the teeth, the tip of the tongue, to the middle of the tongue. Now we are looking at what's going on in the middle of the mouth. So Jim and the other letters, I find, personally, I believe they come from the middle of the mouth. We like to group them there if we want to go in a nice order, okay? Let's look at what's going on. Brothers and sisters, Jim, when you're making the J sound, just notice and just pause on the J, right? When you're just about to say J, just pause right there before you go, before you exhale, just pause right there and see exactly what's going on inside your mouth. What's happening here, okay, brothers and sisters, is that the jaws, so J, Jim, jaw, coincidence maybe, maybe not, okay, it is closing tight together, okay, J, okay, so your front molars and your top molars and bottom molars, they are coming down together. But let's see what's happening inside, okay, in the middle of the mouth with the tongue. So the tongue is lying flat, okay, the tongue is lying flat, okay, against the molars, J. But what's happening is that the front of the tongue is rising up, J. The front of the tongue is rising up and it's moving towards the palate, Okay, the previous letters, brothers and sisters, the tip of the tongue we were talking about is moving towards the upper gums. Okay, here it's moving towards the palate, brothers and sisters. J, simple. J for joy, okay, and Jeem, Jeem, okay, J. Remember, keep practicing this at home, and of course, everyone who knows how to pronounce the letter J, there's no issue with that. And of course, we know in Arabic, whenever we want to reply by saying thanks to someone, we always say Jazakumullah. May Allah give you the best of rewards. So that is Jim. Okay, let's look at the next letter. Okay, whoops, I went a bit ahead of myself again, right? Got a nice 3 loops. Looks like the sheen. The only looks like the scene. The only difference is that it has 3 dots there, brothers and sisters. Let me just put that a little bit lower for you guys so that it will be a bit more clear. Okay, sheen, right? So you've got the same pattern as how the same way you draw seen, but the only difference is that it has 3 dots on top of it. Sheen, right? Now, sheen, brothers and sisters, it's coming from the same place as your Jim was, but the only difference now is that look at, just try and get that sh sound, just like how you say sh in English, okay? The SH in English, okay? Sh, right? Your front jaw is coming down, closing with your bottom jaw, okay? Sh, but the tongue is rising a bit more than Jim. Jim, the tongue was sort of laid back, it's sitting a bit down, it's sort of pushing against the molars, you know, it's a more solid letter. Sheen, the tongue is rising up a bit more and going towards the top of the palate, and it is a bit more lighter. There's not much going on with the side of the tongue and the molars. There's a little bit, it's slight there, but we're not going to focus too much on that, and then you might get confused about that, okay? So Jim, we said was a bit more heavier, okay? Sheen, and now what's happening with sheen, just notice, when the tongue is rising to the palate, it's not actually making contact with the palate, because if it makes contact with the palate, then it sort of will come with like a Jim sounding articulation. But the sheen sound, if you can notice, there's sort of like an airwave coming through there. Okay, there are certain letters that use this passage, like the scene, you know, you had a little whistling, a little airway coming through. Sheen has the same style as well. Now we're going to look at the last letter, okay, that is in this group. And you know, as I said, a lot of people, they don't add this letter into this group, but some of them also add it because it's almost at the same place. So we will add it as well according to the experts, and that letter is ya. Ya, as we said, just exactly how it is in the Arabic, in the English language, the letter Y, so Y for yellow, ya, okay? Now, what's happening is that we put this in this group because it comes from the same place, but the only difference that is having with sheen and Jim is that sheen and Jim, sort of you had the jaws closing together and then opening to make the sound. But with ya, the jaws are not closing together, okay? The jaws are sort of left open, and what's happening is that if you notice that if you sort of hold that point there, yeah, if you sort of hold that point right there just before you exhale, the middle of the tongue is rising to the palate, to the middle and the top of the palate. Yeah, okay? Now, the bottom, the tip of the tongue, there's nothing going on with that. It's sort of just left flat in the middle, okay? It's not touching, it's not making any impact. A lot of the people, what they do, and I've noticed from the subcontinent people as well, is that they sort of mimic ya with sheen and jim. Now we want to apply these letters now in our Holy Quranic verses that will be more applicable and practical for us, and we will be doing this more in our future sessions. Like as soon as we find a new rule and learn a new rule, we're going to directly apply it to the Holy Quran. What a lot of the times happens, and if you look in Surah Al-Fatiha, when you say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, okay, this is ya, it's a ya sounding letter, just like how you have Y in English. But what I've heard from a lot of people from the subcontinent origins is what they do is that they sort of mimic sheen and jim. So I've heard them say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. This is wrong, brothers and sisters, because the letter j in Arabic doesn't exist. And if you say إِيَّاكَ, that is j, that is not ya. So you have to be very specific and know that this is exactly like the letter Y in English. Y for yellow, ya. So you're not saying yellow, you're saying yellow, okay? So إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Let's look at the next group, dear brothers and sisters, okay? We're going to go to this group and then we're going to leave the letter Bod for the last segment, just like how we did Sad in the previous episode. Okay, the next group of letters, so you have, okay, let me just get that in black so that we can identify the headings, okay? Group 7. Okay, now we're moving more to the back of the throat, dear brothers and sisters, okay? Bod is also in the middle of the mouth, okay? But we're going to get to that in the last segment. The group 7 letters are as follows, and if you look at the first letter, what we want to work on is kaf, kaf, okay? Just like your letter K in English, K for kite, all right? Kaf, okay, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ الْكِتَاب كِتَابَ الْقُرْآنِ qa. See, there's a ka and a qa. Now we're going to look at the difference between the kaf and the qaf. A lot of people have problems with the qaf, but let's look at what happens with the kaf. Just like how you have K in the English language, if you want to look at exactly where the point of articulation is, the makhraj of kaf, ka. Just try and hold that there for a bit. Ka, okay? What's happening now is that the end of your tongue is rising up to the end of your mouth. And the last point of your palate, that is exactly where it's going up. There's nothing going on with the teeth. The tongue is not touching any part of the teeth. So just picture this, your tongue is flat, and just rise the last part up and make it impact with the end of the palate, okay? Kaf, ka, al-kitab, okay? Ka, ka. The next letter that we want to talk about is one of the hardest letters in the Arabic alphabet as well. A lot of people have issues with this letter, but with practice, everything can become perfect, and you will soon be able to pronounce these letters exactly like how a native Arab speaker pronounces them. Now the makhraj of qaf, right, is a bit behind it. You go more behind the letter kaf. Now, as I said, kaf, brothers and sisters, is a flat letter. Kaf, al-kitab, kite, right? Qaf, Quran. It's not Quran, it's Quran, okay? Qaf, what's happening here, brothers and sisters? Because we said it's one of the rounded letters, it's one of the full letters, you're going to round your lips, the end of your tongue. So where we said for kaf was that it's going to the palate, here, qaf, the end of the tongue is going towards the tonsils. So right at the end of the mouth, just before the throat, okay? And if you notice, you have a thing that is called a uvula. If you look in the mirror, you'll see your tonsils, and you have this little thing that's dangling there, the uvula, okay? That is where the tongue is moving up. So this is the end of the mouth. the tongue is coming and pushing right up inside there. It's going to block the airwaves. You're blocking basically your air passage, and it's holding, it's pushing itself against the tonsils and the uvula, and that's where you have qaf, qaf, qaf. And remember, dear brothers and sisters, you are rounding your lips. It's not a flat letter. You can't say qaf. It's qaf, Qur'an, qala, Qur'an. Okay, that's the difference between qaf and kaf, right? Kaf, we said just like the K in English. Qaf, Qur'an. Right, last letter, dear brothers and sisters, and we're going to call it a day. One of the most difficult letters, for me personally, it was the most difficult letter in the Arabic alphabet, the letter Dad. Let me just try and write it a bit more larger for you at home. Okay, Dad. Okay, we write it exactly like how Swad is, but the only difference is that we're going to have a dot there, right? Now, Dad. There are three ways of pronouncing this letter. I'm going to quickly go through all those three ways, and then I'm going to tell you my own personal preference that I find much easier, and you can find your own preference as well, because a lot of people might have issues with how to twist the tongue and turn it. The main thing is, brothers and sisters, please focus. ضاد ولا الضالين غير المغضوب. It's not مغزوبي, okay? It's not ولا الضالين. It's ولا الضالين. It is also a rounded letter. Remember, it's not a flat letter. So first of all, you're rounding your lips and your mouth. The second thing that's happening is that the first way of pronouncing it, the right side of your tongue rises up, curls up, and goes and pushes against the molars, the left side, the top left side molars on the inside. So picture that these are the molars. It comes up, the tongue comes up and pushes against them, and then you say Dad. You scrape the tongue against the inside of the molars. Dad, Dad. Reciprocally, you can do the other way as well. So if you're normal with the right side of your tongue rolling up, then it's going to touch the opposite side, the top opposite side of the molars. So me personally, I usually go with the right side of the tongue, and I go and push it against my top left molars, the back molars here. Dad. So the tongue rises up, curls over, and brushes against the top molars. That's the first way, okay? So either the right side goes up and brushes against the inside of the left molars, or you can do the left side curling up and brushing against the inside of the top right molars. Careful, we're not talking about the bottom molars, we're talking about the top molars. That's the first way. The second way is that, as the Tajweed scholars they say, is that you could use the same side. So your tongue just rises up. So let's say your left side of the tongue rises up and brushes against the inside of the top left molars. Dad. That is also correct, but make sure you are rounding your lips and make sure there is a strong impact and there is a brushing of the tongue against these molars. Dad. It's quite a heavy letter. You have to put a lot of pressure in it. The same way, if you are doing with the left side of the tongue moving up to the left molars, the right side of the tongue will also go up and brush against the right side of the top right molars. So you can either do, either or. It depends on how you are really comfortable with it. Dad, dad. So now I'm going to go on the right side. Dad. I'm going to go towards the left side. Dad. That is the second way. A lot of people find this way the most easiest. So if this is the easiest way for you, then you should try it and maintain it. So the third way now, the scholars say that the tongue rises up and the edge of the tongue, the right side and the left side, simultaneously brushes against the right and left molars respectively. So when the tongue rises up, respectively, the right side of the tongue will then brush against the inner right side of the molars. The left side of the tongue will then brush on against the inner left side of the molars. So that's the third way. Dad. That's exactly what I'm saying. Dad. But also bear in mind, I am rounding my lips. Dad. So that's the third way. Let's go with the first way. Dad. The second way. Dad. Okay. Dad. The third way. Dad. Okay. These three ways are acceptable according to the scholars of Tajweed. And you at home now, brothers and sisters, you have to try and manage which way is more comfortable for you. This is the hardest letter in the in the Arabic alphabet, and you have to try and perfect this letter, because a lot of your verses in the Holy Quran and also the verses that you use in your salat, in your daily prayers, have this letter. And please do not mix it with the z sound, because then it changes the whole entire meaning, and therefore changing the meaning of the Quran, then you fall into trouble there, and then there's issues with the prayers as well. But remember, Dad, keep practicing it, and remember having the rounded lips. Okay, that is group 8, and inshallah we are going to complete the next groups, and we're going to work more on the throat letters, and we're going to complete them in our next session. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin.